Now, in economics, like we said, we have two kinds of systems. We have what we call a command system. We have what we call a market system. Now, a command system is where there's a central production system that produces whatever the managers feel needed. In a market system, the economic system depends on interaction between buyers and sellers to determine what is to be produced. And so we talk about an interaction between buyers and sellers. Now, what is the driving force of that interaction? The driving force of the interaction is prices. Okay. If you want to buy something and the price is $2, you might think it's not worth it for you, and so you will not buy it. Or if you do not have $2, then you will not buy it because you don't have $2. So the idea here is that for a buyer to buy something, there are two factors. One is called the budget factor, and the other is called the substitution factor. Okay, if for example, if beef is $2 a pound, and you don't have $2 a pound, and what you have is $1.25 a pound, then you can substitute and buy chicken because chicken is available. So there's a budget effect there. Okay, if beef is what is sold at $2 a pound, you may have $10 in your pocket, but you're going to say to yourself, I don't want to spend my $2 on beef, so I'm going to spend my $2 on something else so that I can have other resources to do other things. So there's a budget effect, there's a substitution effect, because you can substitute something that to you is equivalent to what you are giving up. So in the market system, there are buyers, there are sellers, and sellers will sell if what they're selling is going to be profitable. So, and the sellers are the people that do the supply, and the buyers are the people that do the demand. So let us define demand. Okay, and this is very, very, very important. Now, in economics, we define demand as the quantity of goods that buyers are willing to buy at a given price. We'll call that demand. Okay, demand is different from desire. Demand is even different from need. You might need something, but you will not be able to demand it in economic theory. You're only able to demand if you are able to pay, and if you are willing to pay so much for so much quantity, and so then you are demanding that quantity at that price. The same definition goes for supply. The supply of a good is the quantity of any good that sellers are willing to sell at a given price. So if the good is $3 a unit, sellers are willing to sell 200 units. But if it is $2 a unit, then sellers are willing to sell only 150. Okay, so at $3, the supply is 300. At $2, the supply is 150. The same way, if buyers are willing to buy 200 at $2 a pound, a unit, but they are willing to buy only 100 at $3. So the demand at $3 is 100, and the demand at $2 is 200. Okay, so let us go through how we represent what we have just said. Okay, so I'm going to pull up some slides. All right, so we have supply and demand, and this just sort of is jumping the gun. So I'm going to go systematically and think about what we have to look at today. All right. So we have what we call a demand schedule. Okay, what we call a demand schedule. And as I said, demand is the quantity of a good that buyers are willing to buy at a given price. So for each different price, there's a certain quantity that buyers are willing to buy. And when we put together the combination of prices and quantity that buyers are willing to buy, then we have a demand schedule. 25 cents per unit, buyers are willing to buy 890 units. $275 a unit, buyers are willing to buy only 100 units. And so when you put together a table that shows this combination of prices and corresponding quantities, then we have what we call a demand schedule. Now, the same thing goes for supply. You have a supply schedule. Incidentally, we don't have a supply schedule here, so next time I'm going to prepare better. And so when you look at the demand schedule, as you can see from this, as the price goes up from $0.25 or 25 cents to $2.75, the quantity demanded goes down. And so now I use a specific terminology here, the quantity demanded. Okay, at any given price, the quantity demanded is specified. At $1.75, the quantity demanded is $2.80. At $1, the quantity demanded is $4.70. Now, I am emphasizing this because when we do economic analysis, there's a difference between quantity demanded and demand. All right. Okay. We have the same thing for supply. And so we have a supply schedule that shows the quantity supplied at a given price. What you will see at the end is that we create a supply curve out of the supply schedule. The same way we create a demand curve out of a demand schedule. Okay. And so what you will observe is that the supply curve is upward sloping, which shows that as price goes up, the quantity supplied goes up. And the demand curve is downward sloping, which is a negative slope. The supply curve has a positive slope. The demand curve has a negative slope. As prices go up, the quantity supplied goes up. As prices go up, the quantity demanded goes down. And so this gives rise to what we call an equilibrium. Okay, in the sense that if the price is too high, and I'm going to show you this. Okay, if the price is too high, suppose you're looking at my cursor and you can see the shaded line here in the area B. If the price is too high, the quantity demanded will be small and the quantity supplied will be large. What you have is a surplus. So there's a surplus in the market, and you can see it's in the shaded area B. Now, if the price is too low, the quantity supplied will be low and the quantity demanded will be high. And so in the shaded area A, you have what you call a shortage. Okay, and so now if the price is too high, what is going to happen is that the quantity demanded will be small and the quantity supplied will be high. But then the suppliers will see that they have a surplus, and so they begin to reduce the price. And so as the price is falling, the quantity demanded will be increasing until you get to the point where you have equilibrium at the point P0, okay? And so if the price is too low, there will be a shortage, and then the market forces will be such that because there's a shortage, buyers will raise prices, and as buyers will raise the prices they're willing to pay, sellers will sell more until again you have equilibrium. Okay, and at this equilibrium price, that is a corresponding equilibrium quantity. All right, and this is what we see here. So you have excess supply, or you have excess demand, and when you get to equilibrium, there's an equilibrium quantity at the blue line here and an equilibrium price. So whatever the price that buyers want to buy is the same thing as the price that sellers want to sell, you also have a quantity that we call the equilibrium quantity, which is to say that the quantity that buyers want to buy is also equal to the quantity that sellers want to sell. All right, and so we take it from there. This is the same thing. Now, what comes out of this? What comes out of this is that sometimes the government intervenes in the market, and many of you are aware of areas where there's government intervention. Two areas I can illustrate government intervention. For example, there's something called minimum wage. Minimum wage is the lowest price that you can pay for labor. Okay, when you have minimum wage, you have what you call a price floor. Okay, and then you also have sometimes a price ceiling, the highest price at which you can sell something, and you cannot sell more than higher than that price. And so if the price, if there's a price ceiling, okay, so what you have here is a surplus, okay? The highest price that you can sell. My internet connection is unstable. If you put a price ceiling, which is the highest price you can sell, what you have, I'm sorry, it's a shortage. Because if you have a maximum price and sellers cannot sell above that price, then sellers might be compared to sell at a low price, and so you have a shortage. The same thing goes for a price floor, which is the lowest price that you can pay. And again, what you might have is a surplus. All right, so let's take it from here. Then the next thing that we need to understand in economic theory is what we'll call shifts in supply and demand. Okay, here's a demand curve. This thing should be elsewhere. Okay, so that's the proper place for it to be. Please pardon my rearrangement. The demand schedule. All right. Okay. So the other thing that happens in the marketplace is what we call changes in demand and supply. Okay. Changes in demand and supply. So I'm going to illustrate a change in demand and a change in supply. Okay. Here is an example. Now think about things that can bring about a change in demand. Okay. For example, if you think about yourself, use yourself as an example. If your income falls, that means that even though you would buy 10 pounds of beef per month, if the price of beef falls from $2 to $1.50, you'll be able to buy 12 pounds of beef. And so even at the same price, because your income has, okay, let me start all over. Suppose you have a higher income, okay? If income increases, even though beef is still $2 a pound, instead of buying 10 pounds of beef a month, you can now afford to buy 12 pounds of beef a month because your income has increased. And so the reason that you're buying more beef is not because you know, that you suddenly, the reason you're buying more beef is not because the price of beef has fallen. No, it's just because you have more money to be able to afford beef. And so when your income goes up, for example, you can afford more vacation, you can afford more clothing. And so even at the same price that those items were previously, you'll be able to afford more. And so we say that's a shift in demand. And so this is why I have the arrow from D1 to D2. So you have a shift in demand or an increase in demand. Now, when you hear about an increase in demand, you're simply saying that even though prices have not changed, the quantity demanded will change at every price. So you have an increase in demand, okay? And when there's an increase in demand, what will happen is that the equilibrium price will go up and the equilibrium quantity will go up. You can see here initially where you have the red and the blue at P1, that was the old equilibrium. But now that your income has gone up, you can now afford more. And so you have a new equilibrium. So the new equilibrium price is P2, which is high, and the new equilibrium quantity is Q2, okay? Now, the opposite is true. If your income falls, then there's going to be a downward shift in demand. So you go from D2 to D1, and so equilibrium will change from P2 to P1. Now, the same thing goes for supply, okay? There can be also an increase in supply, okay? There can also be an increase in supply where now things change. But before I even talk about changes in supply, what other factors could cause a change in demand? Okay, the market, the size of the market could increase. Suppose the population of an area increases, then buyers will demand more of whatever goods because the population has increased and more people are going to be demanding goods in a market because of the larger population. So that can cause an increase in demand. Now, if population decreases, that also causes a decrease in demand, okay? Now, the same thing goes for supply. You know, supply can increase from the supply curve here, the original supply curve, to supply one. Now, what can cause increases in supply? Technology can also cause increase in supply, okay? If technology improves, the system of production improves so that you can produce more using the same inputs, then there'll be an increase in supply, okay? Now, if the price of inputs also decrease, let us say, for example, you use bananas to make banana cake, all right? And the sellers used to buy 1 pound of banana for, say, $2. And now, all of a sudden, 10 pounds of banana will cost $1. That will increase supply, okay? That will cause supply to increase. So technology of production, but also if the price of inputs decrease and there'll be an increase in supply, and the opposite is true, okay? The opposite is true. So, and of course, as you can see, if there's an increase in supply, equilibrium price will go, will also decrease, okay? You see the point where we have the original equilibrium price and the new equilibrium price will be at a lower point. And of course, that will also increase the equilibrium quantity bought and sold. All right, having said that, I will ask a question. Does anybody have any question for me now? Okay. If you don't have any question for me, I'm going to pull up the homework assignment. and see if you have any questions about it. See?
Professor.
Yes.
Every time I go on Blackboard and I click discussions, I don't see it under discussions.
Let me get to that. Now, just 1 minute. Okay. You say whenever you go and look for discussion, you don't see it?
Yes.
Okay. My suspicion is one. You see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Here is discussion. Now, if you go in after the discussion is over, you will not be able to see anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you must log in on time. And we don't have discussion every week. Okay. I'm going to post the next discussion this weekend, which will be due on the 20th. As a matter of fact, it's already posted. And so once you receive the announcement that there is a discussion, then you should immediately try to get into it. Usually, you have 1 week to participate or to complete a homework assignment or a quiz. So it's either you go after the deadline or there's no discussion in that week. There's no discussion like this week that is going to end on Sunday. There's no discussion. Okay.
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 I got confused. I thought the assignment that you posted was part of the discussion board.
No.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
What I do is every week has a quiz. So you have either a quiz and a discussion or a quiz and an assignment.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have an assignment, answer the assignment. If you have a discussion, do the discussion, but there's always a quiz.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. So we are here, week 2, and we have an assignment here. Okay. It says obesity and smoking are both linked to numerous adverse health consequences, including heart disease, cancer, strokes, among others. The Affordable Care Act permits health insurance companies to charge people higher premiums if they smoke or are obese. But the law forbids companies from charging higher premiums or denying coverage to people who have suffered strokes or have had disease or cancer. Now, what is a rational argument about why the law might be structured in this way? Why is it that the law forbids insurance companies to charge higher premiums to people that have suffered strokes in the past? That's health insurance companies. But they are allowed to charge higher premiums if people smoke or are obese. Why do you think so? Does anybody have an answer? Hello?
Can you repeat that again?
Okay. Can you read the assignment here, number three assignment?
It says obesity and smoking are linked to numerous adverse health consequences, including heart disease, cancer, and stroke, among others.
Okay.
The Affordable Care Act permits health insurance companies to charge people higher permits if they smoke or are obese. The law forbids the company from charging higher premiums and denying coverage to people who suffer stroke and or have heart disease or cancer.
Okay. So if you go to buy health insurance, if somebody goes to buy health insurance and they have had a history that they had a stroke, or they have heart disease or cancer. The insurance company is not allowed by law to charge them a higher health insurance premium. However, if people smoke or they're obese, the insurance companies are allowed to charge such people higher premiums, even though we know that heart disease and cancer and strokes come from smoking. So why is the law different for these two different groups of people? Do you have an idea?
Could it be they're doing it to themselves, like creating the problems on their own?
Well, that's exactly the answer. So now, how would this kind of law, from what we just discussed regarding supply and demand, how would this kind of law affect the demand for cigarettes? Would it cause the demand for cigarettes to shift up or to shift down?
Down.
Down. That is the whole idea. So here and now you are looking at an application of economic theory. The law will cause the demand curve for cigarettes to shift down. That is the whole idea. Now, because the reason the law is structured that way is that when people smoke, they cause themselves to have heart disease or maybe even stroke because then by creating that problem, they cause insurance premiums to go up for everybody. So what the insurance companies, the health insurance companies are allowed to do is to pass the cost to them. But when somebody just has had a history of stroke or heart disease, which they did not cause, and they don't smoke, and they don't do things that cause heart disease, so you cannot charge them a higher premium because they're part of the larger population. And, I mean, that's a random occurrence. And so you average them into the population and charge an average premium for everybody, which is what health insurance, what insurance is about, including health insurance, which is where a lot of people put money together and say, whichever one of us is not feeling well, or whichever one of us encounters an adversity, then take money from the pool and pay for their adversity. Okay, and of course you hope that you never have to get into that adversity. When you buy your car insurance, for example, you pray that you never have an accident. Okay, let them keep the money. Okay, because you don't know what an accident can bring about. The same thing when you buy health insurance. You hope you don't get sick, or at least you don't get so sick as to have to pay a lot of money for a hospital bill. Okay, so that's just an example of an application, and you can answer the rest of the question. And so, do you have any other questions for me?
No.
All right, okay. So, good night. You can feel free, if you don't have anything else to say, feel free to go about your business.
Professor,
Yes.
when when you speak, I understand what you're saying, especially when you're trying to explain supply and demand and all that. But when I look at the graph, like the diagrams, I'm really not understanding, I'm not understanding when I look at the graph.
Okay, so let me pull up one of those graphs. Would that help? Let me even see if I have alternative graphs.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to pull up an alternative set of graphs, and I may have to post these ones. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, Professor.
Are you seeing chapter 2?
Yes, Professor, like a a list of chapters.
Okay, all right. So I didn't pull out the right thing then. Okay, the right thing. Okay, are you seeing chapter 2?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, so this seems to be a better presentation of supply and demand. Okay, for example, you can see when price is 0, okay, the quantity demanded is 5,000, and so when price is 2.5, the quantity demanded is 0. Okay, and so you have a downward sloping demand curve. All right, and so here this is a supply schedule. When price is 0, nothing is supplied. When price is 1, 10,000 is supplied. When price is 2.5, 40,000 is supplied. And so you have a supply curve, which shows that as prices go up, the quantity supplied goes up, okay? And so now when supply interacts with demand, you have an equilibrium. The equilibrium price is $1.50 and the equilibrium quantity is 20, all right? And so you can have an increase in demand from demand to new demand. And so equilibrium price will go up and equilibrium quantity will go up. Okay. If you have a decrease in demand, okay, equilibrium price will go down and equilibrium quantity will go down. And so this seems to be a better representation. So I'm going to take off the old one and I put up the new one. Would that help?
Probably will help.
Okay.
So
okay, what can I do? What can I do to increase your chances of understanding?
Saying it, I understand, but sometimes like interpreting the graph, I don't know. It's like I don't get it in my head as yet.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Because Professor, I was doing the quiz too, and I was trying to do the quiz and all those questions with the graphs. I'm like, I don't understand them.
Okay, so let's then go to the quiz. Okay, for example, if you read this graph, what is the quantity demanded? What is the quantity supplied when the price is 1? This is the individual. This is for the market. Okay, what quantity is supplied when the price is 1?
Like 1,000.
1,000 for the individual and 10,000 for the individual company, 10,000 for all the companies put together. When the price is 2.5, what is the quantity supplied?
4,000.
4,000 for the individual and 40,000 for the market. Now, in any problem, I'm going to give you only one column, the price and only one column. Okay. So when you look at this, okay, what is the equilibrium price?
150.
150. And what is the equilibrium quantity?
20.
Okay. So now, if the price was $2, would there be a surplus or would there be a shortage?
Good question. When the price is $2, would there
Yes.
be a surplus or
So, there'll be a surplus. Now, let's not calculate the surplus, but the point there'll be a surplus because the quantity demanded is small, which is like at 10, and the quantity supplied is up there. So there's going to be a higher quantity supplied and a lower quantity demanded. Am I correct? Okay.
I think that's where that's where I get lost. So you say surplus because okay, so if it was like
$1,
it would be a
the quantity supplied will be small, but the quantity demanded will be high. So if buyers want to buy more than the sellers want to sell, what do you have in the market? If buyers want to buy 20, but sellers only have 10, what do you have? Is that a shortage or a
demand,
surplus?
an increase in demand?
No, let's not talk about increase in demand yet. Suppose that you come to the market, right?
Yes.
And there are so many buyers in the market, they want to buy 50 cows, but the sellers in the market have only 20 cows. So would that be a shortage of cows or would that be a surplus of cows?
Shortage of cows.
Of course.
Yes.
You get it?
Yes.
So when the price is too low, there's going to be a shortage. When the price is too high, there's going to be what? A surplus.
Surplus. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But when the buyers and the sellers agree on a price, then you have equilibrium.
Gotcha.
You got it?
Yes, sir.
All
Thank you.
right. Any other question? Okay, I take it there are no more questions, and we are done.
Thank you, Professor.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Thank you.